be blue, 'cause I can't see you. Richie, I love you.
Hey, this is Rich Wexler. Welcome to episode 13 of Vintage Annals Archive with our very special guest, Eddie Davis. I have known Eddie since around 1983 when he played my bar mitzvah. I've kept Eddie in mind because I knew his kids and throughout my life. And one of the first people I wanted to ever interview in terms of doing this podcast was Eddie Davis. Eddie just had a very unique. Eddie just has a lot of flair. Eddie just had whatever I remember from a bar mitzvah has stuck with me for like 50, 40, I don't know how many years. If it was 13, I mean a good amount of years, we'll say. And he has really one of the best performers I've ever seen. He just gives it all his all. And one of the things I really wanted to explore in this podcast was my own Jewish heritage, my own Jewish stories. And this one's amazing. So again, Eddie is the real fucking deal. Working class musician all his life. Still out there singing the blues. Enjoy. This is a very special episode. Thank you so much. Take care.
She grew up in Southwest Philly. She went to the music conservatory, and
Nice.
she
So
had
was
all this
professional.
sheet music. Well, when she was younger, but after she got married and had kids, we had a piano in the house, though.
Nice.
And my mother played, and she had all kinds of sheet music. And my sister and I and my father. It was, remember, All in the Family?
Sing that together?
So we all stood around a piano and sang,
Nice.
and my mother played. So from that early age, and they give me piano lessons. I didn't want to, I took lessons for a while, piano, but I want to go outside and play.
Yeah.
I was an athlete too.
What kind of stuff? What kind of sports were you into when you were younger?
Oh, I played baseball, football, everything. But we lived in Overbrook Park. I don't know. There was a lot there. Our favorite thing to do was to burn the lot down. There'd be fire engines at our street every other day. It was hay then. Now if you go by there, it's all nasty grass.
So did you think you were going to be an athlete when you were a kid? Or
No,
did you know
no. I didn't know what I know. I'd love to sing most of all.
Okay.
That was first. I wasn't a great athlete, but I was good at everything.
So what's the first memory, if you can think about it, where you understood you could sing and that there was an
first
audience
memory.
for it?
Yeah, it was.
When did you feel good? When did you get your first clap?
Probably 8 or 9, or but my aunt lived next door. She wanted to put me on Children's Hour.
What
was
were you
a show.
What were you singing?
I was singing Paul Anka's, and I remember it, standing at the piano singing "You Are My Destiny," a song. He must have been a teenager when he wrote that.
Can I interrupt this with a Paul Anka story?
Oh yes.
So, and it's about Valley Forge. So I don't know what happened, but it was my parents' anniversary.
Yeah.
And Paul Anka, they were seeing Paul Anka. And somewhere along the line, somebody figured it out, and they invited my mother and my dad to go backstage to meet Paul Anka. And there's a picture of my mother with Paul Anka, who I always say is my dad. I love my dad, but I jokingly will be like, Paul Anka is my father. The next weird part of the Paul Anka story, in terms of like collections and archives, I used to buy VHS tapes at like a lot of in your area. I would buy them, and all these old Jewish music, like all this stuff. And I found a videotape. I put it on. If it said like Jim's bat mitzvah or 1960, if I said like 1989 like party, I would buy it and see what it was.
Wow.
And I found one, and I'm watching it, and all of a sudden Paul Anka's in it playing a song for whoever it was.
Yeah.
And I wish that I owned that. It's
Oh
gone.
my God. It was an old bar mitzvah tape.
No, it was just like it was in their house.
Oh, okay.
And it was just Paul Anka at the piano. I don't know who. I don't think it was Paul Anka's house.
But I was
Okay,
too
we'll go
scared.
back.
But
We'll
I
go
was scared as a kid to sing and
Okay.
be in front of people.
Okay.
My aunt wanted to put me on Children's Hour to sing, and I was scared to death. So I never went on that. I didn't want
What
to
was
go.
Children's Hour?
I knew that was a show, like an amateur hour.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I didn't want to go, and my mother said, "Well, don't make him nervous. You don't want to go in." And my mother didn't push me. She was musical, and I sang, but she never really pushed me. And but I eventually I got enough. People would call me up at weddings or anniversary parties to sing.
And how, as a kid?
Yeah, well, not at that young, but more as I grew a little older.
14, 15?
As a kid, I took clarinet up in school, and I hated sucking the reeds so I didn't play that. I took piano lessons finally later on in life I played bass. I got bass lessons and I played bass.
That was your.
But that was hard to sing and play at the same time.
So speaking of, you can hear if you want.
No.
Speaking of bar mitzvahs, did you have one?
Yeah.
Did you
Oh.
perform? Did you,
Oh
was
yeah,
that a big
man!
performance for
I
you?
had me and another guy got bar mitzvah the same day.
Okay.
And I did my Haftorah. Chalo chifnei chushiyim atem li. I still remember like the first verse of it, or two verses.
Yeah.
And I was great at my bar mitzvah.
Do you feel
So,
like your bar mitzvah
I,
was your
like,
first
sang
big
my ass
performance? Would you look at that as like your first big show? if you
Yeah,
think of it like that?
probably. I was scared to death, but I knew
Yeah?
the thing backward and forward, and I got up and I belted it out. And the other kid was like a timid kid, you know. Oh, you know, before that, I was in Glee Club in Hebrew school,
Okay.
in choir.
Oh,
Canner
nice.
Weinberg, he was a great singer,
Nice.
and he went around. So I dug that. You know, and then in high school, I had a Glee Club also, and that because the music teacher was really stacked. You know what I mean?
Stacked meaning like had a lot of books.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah, not that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
well, you know.
Yeah, but I was a teenager in school. And I
Yeah.
loved the music teacher, so I joined Glee Club.
Yeah.
But you know, not thinking it was like
Do
manly.
you remember any songs you would have sang at that point? What year are we talking about?
In the Glee Club?
Yeah, like-
in Hebrew school, it was like Hebrew stuff, you know.
Okay. What about the?
And then
oh, it was
You Are
okay.
My Destiny was when I was really young
Okay.
and started out, or Wake Up Little Susie when I first met this girl in Atlantic City. We used to go down the shore
Okay.
and stay for 6 weeks, and Susie Horn was her name. And
You sang to her?
This girl, I loved her. And Everly Brothers had Wake Up Little Susie, Wake Up.
Yeah.
You know, so that song was always related to her, and there was another song even before that, and it was called Beep Beep, and I sang that with one of the other kids on my street growing
Okay.
up. It said beep 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 beep, and so I went beep 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 while riding in my Cadillac. Da, 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 da. So I was singing that shit when I was 8, 9 years old.
So you sat on the corner like doing doo-wop. I mean, is that part of your story? Like, are you kind of, is that the same, like, think of Frank Avalon, were you kind of singing with friends in the corner or not so much?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Singing with friends in the corner later. When I
Okay.
got into high school,
your
I
first-
grew up. Len Barry lived around the corner.
Okay.
So he was my idol,
Lightning
my first
Strikes,
idol.
right? Lightning
Len,
Strikes?
Lenny, huh?
Did he sing Lightning Strikes?
No,
Lightning
no,
Strikes,
that's
not-
Chris. That's
I thought that was Len Barry.
Len Barry did Bristol Stomp,
Okay.
Frizzle Twist and Annie.
Nice.
You Can't Sit Down, all kinds of stuff with the Dovells. And then his big hit as a solo artist was 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So I'm going to skip a second because I know, speaking of the twist, I know you have a connection to writing for Chubby Checker.
Yes, I did.
So I want to, can we share that? Can you mind sharing that?
Absolutely, I'd love to. But the zombie, so she used to get these Enquire magazines.
Okay.
And in one Enquire that I'd see, the Enquire, Enquire,
Okay.
yeah. They were auditioning people to be zombies in a remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
They were doing a color version because the Night of the Living Dead originally was,
It was
like
black and white.
69 or 60s. Yeah, it was black and
My
white.
sister used to torture me. They're coming for you, Barbara. We used to torture
Yeah.
ourselves with that, but go
Yeah.
back, go on, I'm sorry.
So they were doing a colored version. They were auditioning zombies in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I'm reading this in the Enquirer, and they were interviewing one guy, and they were saying, "Why do you think you'd make a good zombie?" He says, "Because I have rubber legs and I like to dance." So, and he was a real tall, looked like a zombie, this guy, but he was like to dance, and the way he danced, he looked like a zombie. You know, so I had a dream that night about it. I'll never forget. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I got a dream about a song called "Doing the Zombie." And I
Okay.
wrote it on a napkin. I literally wrote the lyrics on the napkin.
What were the lyrics?
It's the latest graveyard dance. Give yourself a chance. Doing a zombie. When it's dark late at night, such a ghastly sight. Doing a zombie.
So was that also like, was that coming from the twist in some way? Was that?
No, not at all.
No.
Chubby wasn't even a thought or anything. I
Okay.
just got up and wrote down a song.
But was it based on like, I know, like, I mean, I'm not great
It
at
was
like,
based on this Enquirer article I wrote.
but what I guess I'm asking is, I'm not super familiar with that time frame, but like, it seemed like there were a lot of dance songs that were meant to make a dance craze. Was that is that where you're at? Were you trying to like, make a Macarena type song that people could dance to? Like, were you trying
I
to?
don't remember. I wanted to have a dance. I wanted to have merchandising.
Okay.
I mean, when I first got this done, I wrote it. I even tried to get merchandise. I tried to get a cereal called the Zombie. All kinds of things I had in mind to get this done. I had a guy, an artist, draw me a zombie, a character. Huh?
You still have that somewhere?
Somewhere.
I want you to find that.
Yeah. I would have to dig around for that. I have so. But
so what happened with that song? What path did that song take?
So the next day, and I get shit on my mind. I'm different than other people who don't do anything. That's just a crazy thing. I call people.
Yeah.
So being not a great musician, but I needed other great musicians to help me write music. I had an idea of the melody, and I wrote the lyrics. So I called two, a guitar player and a keyboard player. And I thought they were going to say, hey, "You're nuts. What are you talking about, a zombie song?" They loved the idea right away. And so I didn't waste any time. I called these two musicians and we got together and we came up with a great groove. The groove was bum, 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 and the other bum, 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 bum.
It almost sounds like funk music. Funk.
It was funky. I have the original version, which I was singing it.
Yeah.
And I sang the original version. That sat in my drawer that could have sat in my drawer for maybe 8 years.
Okay.
And then a friend of mine who was friendly with Chubby Checker said, "Hey, why don't you play this for Chubby?" So he literally took me to Chubby's house, who lived out by in near Malvern, out in that beautiful area. Anyway, he had this big goddamn golf course, with buses, Chubby Checker buses. Took me into his garage.
Okay.
And there must have been 6, 7 cars there, like Rolls Royces.
So Chuck, he was very well known at this point.
At that point, he was still
famous.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah. And the twist already happened before that. Right?
Yeah.
The twist was a big
twist,
hit.
and, the limbo rock.
So I did a big study of. I'm a Broadway musical person. I did a study of all these musical movies, and there was 2 big movies that he was in like the 60s.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called, but I didn't realize he was that big a deal. I didn't realize also to be black at that point and to have that was new. Well,
that's funny because he was the host that introduced the Dovells to Len Barry singing a Bristol Stomp. And I don't remember the name of that movie, but they were in that,
Anyway, cool.
But anyway, I went to Chubby's house. He went in the garage. He listened to it, and he loved it. He said, "Let's record it." And he spent about 10 grand. Took me to some place in West Philly. We went downstairs. They picked up the thing on the pavement. We went down underneath this thing, and he produced it, and I produced him, and these guys were engineers.
You produced the song or the album?
I wrote the song, and I produced Chubby. I sort of told him how to sing because I had already sang and recorded it.
Yeah.
So I'm playing my version, which he loved, and he sang it just like me.
Did he buy it from you, or just
he got a
partner with him?
Record deal. He was with KTEL Records.
Okay.
And we went to Madison Square Garden and did it for Halloween. And they called it Madison Scare Garden at that time.
So you performed with him?
He performed it. No, I had a rapper on the song also.
Okay.
So he did it with a rapper.
And this is what year? What year is it?
It's probably 96.
I think Eddie just invented rap. I'm sure there was a Jewish purpose thing that rap.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, okay. And this was Double X. Picture. This is my son, and this is my nephew Jason.
Oh, yeah, I know Jason.
Yeah,
I grew up with you. They were part of my life in high school.
This was at the not the Wells Fargo Center. What was it called then when they played basketball? I don't even remember. It Spectrum.
Yeah,
I guess it was. And during halftime, Chubby did my song.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they had the dancers and everything. My name was in lights doing the zombie and the big, and he was signing autographs.
That's awesome. We're gonna use that picture. So Scott, Scott was the president of my fraternity.
Scott left for California today.
Scott and I spent, I don't think I really met Scott till I was probably a sophomore, but we were together in college for 4 years. So Scott was family. Scott and I went away to Daytona a bunch of times.
I'm playing bass. I look like Adam Sandler.
I'm using this picture.
That's my afro, huh?
1979. I need to scan this.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I love this photo. This,
Well,
and
it's
this is-
76.
and here's
That's
the-
76.
Here's the thing about me is like I don't know why, but I love old photos. There's,
That's me and Shelly Cahan.
I'm gonna scan this. We're gonna go through this later.
Look at
but-
me and my daughter. My daughter was gorgeous in
Yes.
those days.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to make sure I was clear.
Yeah, well, we'll scan these later. I have them for you. I knew what you would like,
Yeah.
but I got a lot of stuff.
All right.
You'll like.
Let's keep going, but I'm very excited about that. So,
Anyway, the chubby thing, made me some money.
okay, let's go back because I took us because I wanted to relate that song. We skipped.
No, that's how that came
we
up.
skipped a
I
bunch,
just got
so-
an idea and recorded it.
Let's go back. What after high school? What happened after high school?
Well, after high school, I went to. I was trying to get into Temple, but I needed some more credits, so
Okay.
I went to Temple Prep for a little bit.
What were you studying?
I just had needed more credits, so I was taking an English course, and
What was
I
your
needed-
major though? What, just trying
well,
to
I didn't have a major at
just
that
getting-
point.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was just what's it called? General thing. What's that called again? I forget.
liberal arts.
Yeah, liberal arts. That's right.
that was my major too.
Yeah. So, and then I was going to go into Temple, but then Vietnam. This was '67 or so. I graduated high school in '65, and I went to Wharton School, took business courses there for a while, but that wasn't for me. And then I went to Temple Prep, and I was going to go to Temple.
But you decided to stay out of Vietnam.
No. What happened is Vietnam was raging at that point, so I was going to get drafted because I wasn't a great student.
Okay.
I wasn't, so I was going to get. I wasn't married. I was 17, I guess, 18 years old, 19 years old. I don't know. So everybody was running to get into reserve units. So you can, instead of getting drafted for 2 years, you could go in for 6 months active duty, and then
So did you do that?
so everything was closed. Everybody ran to get into reserve unit. You couldn't get in anything
Okay.
anymore except the Marine Corps.
You were in the Marines.
So
It's amazing.
me and about 5 other guys. I'm not telling you, we were tough Jews. We went into the
Yeah.
Marine Corps. The ZI was so tough, he put his toupee on with a nail.
How long were you in the reserve?
I was in the active duty for 6 months.
Okay.
Paris Island and Camp Lejeune.
And then that was it.
And then I had to go to meetings once a month for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and go away 2 weeks every year to camp.
My dad was in the National Guard in the same kind of.
I tried to get
Same
in the
plan.
National Guard to coach. I don't want to be a Marine. I don't want, but that's the only thing I could get in and not get drafted.
Did you ever see any fighting?
So
Did
I
you-
went in with Shelly Cahan, that guy with the cigarettes hanging out of our mouths. And
That was
that
part of
little,
that?
I'll show you.
Did you ever fight? Did you have a gun?
Oh yeah, I learned how to
Did
fire
you kill
every
anybody?
gun.
Did you kill
I didn't go
anybody?
to Nam. I was a cook, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I didn't go to Nam, and then after basic training, at Camp Lejeune and Paris Island, I had to go to Willow Grove, and then you basically once a month you go to a meeting.
Okay.
You go away every summer for 2 weeks, and they kept threatening you that they're going to call you up to go to Nam. But thank God after that, in the early '70s, it ended. They were in Huntington Valley. I don't remember the name of the band, but I was playing fraternity parties.
Okay.
And I went up on auditions, and it was a big horn band. It was like Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Chicago,
Nice.
A band like that.
That's the
And,
kind of songs they covered.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I love that kind of
And,
music.
And Vehicle. Oh, in the black sedan, I want to hop inside my car. Out there, Kenny, I'm a little man. I'm gonna take it to the nearest star. I'm in a vehicle, baby.
These lyrics are perfect as is. They might not sound it. This is how it was written.
What's that?
I'm just making a joke. Nice.
So yeah, but in other words, and I was making like $22.50 a gig, $22.50.
What does that? What
or
does that
$20.
mean now? What kind of money is that now?
What kind of money?
Like,
is
what would that be equivalent to? Like, if you got paid that same amount now?
at $2?
Okay.
I mean, $22.50.
What would 22.50
now.
be now?
It was still shit
Still
then,
shit.
but
Maybe
maybe
40,
it'd
maybe
be $100
$45
now, $50, $100.
I'm just curious how that works.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like, so
What
I
was that
did
band?
some of those gigs. It was such a big gig, and they were so loud. I had Hammond organ, 4 horns. It was cool as shit.
You were.
But you couldn't hear me. And
You were
fraternity
singing.
was so loud, I was singing. I was fronting the band.
You weren't. Were
Couldn't
you
hear me.
playing?
I was getting so hoarse. I was making $20,
Yeah.
and you couldn't hear me. So I went to an anniversary party, a family event,
Okay.
and there was a trio there. And one of the guys playing the trumpet was a keyboard, a drummer, a bass player, and a trumpet player. And the trumpet player was my cousin. It was his parents' anniversary. They knew I sang.
Okay.
And they called me up to sing.
Nice.
And I sang a couple tunes. And the keyboard player, who was the band leader, called me like a week or two later, and they offered me a gig to sing with them for another private party.
Okay.
An anniversary party or something like
So
that.
that's kind of the start of getting paid.
He offered me $40, and I was only making $20. $40.
Yeah.
Holy shit! So I quit that band and I joined that band.
So did that band become your primary band?
That became my
What were they
primary
called?
band.
What were they called?
Well, the keyboard player, it was Larry Salkin. So I think maybe it was called his name. I don't remember. He shot himself in the head and lived.
And lived.
Took a shower, shrapnel would fall out of his head, but he was fucked up there. Then he went to the doctor for physical, not to tangent I'm going on.
It's okay, go on a tangent. This is all about
Left the
tangents.
doctor's office, and then walked out of the doctor's office down the pavement, dropped dead in the street. And that band, believe it or not, is the Tom Jones at your sister's bat mitzvah.
So okay, so that's
Or-
also like that's also a cover band, right?
The other gig you have up there, me doing Lady.
So I don't know. You know what? It's funny. I can't find my bar mitzvah. I have it somewhere. That's from my sisters.
Both of those tapes were your sisters? Both of
Yeah.
them? You sent me Tom Jones, you sent me another.
I don't know why I have. I don't even remember the bar. I feel like I have 7 hours of bar mitzvah. I don't remember bar mitzvah being more than 4 hours. So I don't. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, I'll probably tell a little bit of both our stories because the bar mitzvah was insane. But let's okay. So
You were dancing with every woman you have. It was great. Your sister got
I
a
wasn't.
bullet.
You seem to have a lot of game as a kid. I had no game. The only girls in my bar mitzvah were like literally my parents' kids, and like I had a soft spot for the weirdos. So if there's a girl who was bullied, no one liked her, I would invite those kids in my stuff. My entire life, I can't explain to you.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I've always had a soft spot for the kids that I knew.
I always had a soft spot for tough guys.
But for kids I knew that were like that I could bully if I was a bully. I don't like bullying, so I would I would give like a Valentine's card to the kid that I knew nobody else would get it. And I don't know what that. I mean,
that's nice. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if like my family is like that. I don't know if that was just me or them, or just whatever it is.
All right, that's cool, man.
But it's also funny that I'm like the only there was like literally the 3 girls who were there were like my parents' friends' kids and the weird girl from Hebrew school, right? Who I don't know.
That's cool.
I mean I was a weird kid too, but like in a different way.
But at your sister's bat mitzvah, you're dancing with a lot of different
Well,
people.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My sister mitzvah, one of her friends liked me, which somehow earned me the name Fox. And my Aunt Ruth got me a plaque. Fox. So my nickname was Fox. So I was a good looking person.
How do you spell that?
Fox, like Fox.
Oh, Fox.
So I was like, I was a good looking kid, but I didn't think I was.
You were
so
cute. I see.
I was, but like I did not. I was like, I had no self-esteem.
Yeah.
So, but I did, that moment was a moment.
Okay.
It's funny when you look back,
Yeah.
because I must have danced with, in a video, I danced with 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
I don't remember talking to any girls
Yeah.
until I was like 19.
And was that your uncle, the beard, who was in the adult business? What was his name?
So that's Mel Schwartz.
Mel
Mel
Schwartz,
Schwartz is going to be his own.
I saw him dancing with his wife. She's passed already.
I don't want to tell Mel's story because it's Mel's story, but so Mel is why I'm alive. Mel introduced my parents. If it weren't for Mel, I would not be on this earth.
Got with this private party band.
Okay.
Paying me $40 instead of $20.
What were they? That was the same name?
No, it was different. I don't remember what the name. It
So
was a keyboard player's name, Larry Salkin.
Okay,
band.
all right.
Yeah, that's the guy who shot himself in the head. At your daughter's your sister's bat mitzvah.
Yeah.
He was playing keyboard.
So that was 1984.
But before that, you see, that's when I started with him. Way before that.
Okay.
That was 84. I probably started with him in early 79. I don't know, 80. I don't know how long I was playing then. I looked pretty professional then.
Yeah.
But in any case, when I first started with them, going from that big fraternity gig band, $20 to this band with $40 playing private parties, he went away for the summer, the keyboard player.
Okay.
And I was stuck. We had no gigs. It was me and the drummer and the trumpet player. So he went away for the summer playing in the Poconos. He played sax and keyboard. And we were stuck. We had nothing. So we got a keyboard player and we started our own thing. And now
So that became your band.
That was me, a keyboard player, and a drummer.
You were the band
We
leader,
became partners. We even have our partnership agreement. Okay. But since I was fronting, we called it Eddie Davis Trio.
Okay.
When he came back from the mountains, he was playing saxophone. He was pissed off because now we had a band, and
it was
Eddie Davis Trio.
He resented you for taking over his band.
But we put him in our band as a side man playing sax, and then Eddie Davis Trio, and then the keyboard player was a gynecologist, became a gynecologist. So then it was just me and the drummer, partners. So now we're making more money, and we opened a company called East Coast Entertainment. Okay. I think it was.
So you had other acts under you? You were like...
Well, we got so busy, and I still had a partner, me and another partner.
Who was your partner?
His name was Marv Singer. Okay. He was a drummer. And then we had a place right in Northeast at 5 Points.
Yeah.
We had an office there.
Nice.
And what was it? It wasn't called East Coast Entertainment.
I mean, we can fact check all this.
The name of that business. But we started a business because we got so busy. I was turning. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm booked. Oh, thank you for calling. I'm booked already. Okay. We got a video camera. Now I was the first to do this.
Yeah.
And we went out and started videotaping other bands.
Nice.
So I could say, hey, I'm not available, but Mark Isidore, Ronnie Dubin, Ira Berkowitz, they're available.
Were you trying to help them by doing that? Or
I was trying to help them, and I was trying to make more money.
Yeah.
And give people a service.
Yeah.
In other words, I was booked. You can't have me, but Ira's available.
Nice. But I think a lot of people who don't think about other people, who don't think about taking care of people, wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, well, I did it, because I cared about other band leaders. I was so busy.
That's a big quality. That's a nice quality.
I'm losing money because I'm turning down all these gigs.
Did you get
so people would come into the office now and look at a videotape of another band, and I'd sit.
Did you get a portion of that when you sold it, or no?
Of course.
Okay. So you weren't making no money, just not as much.
No, of course, yeah.
All right. So I want to go back a second. I want to tell my bar mitzvah story with you together, and I want to get into the Tom Jones, and then we're going to go somewhere else. So all I want to add is my bar mitzvah was 1983. I forget September 24th. No, I don't know what day it was. It might have been the 19th.
I don't have a video of that. The video I have is your
I have it somewhere.
That's your sister's bat mitzvah.
Right. I have mine somewhere. I just have to find it.
But the Tom Jones I did was at your sister's bat mitzvah.
We did it at both.
Yeah. Oh.
Right.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
The Tom Jones of Philadelphia in those days.
So on that day, which is crazy, so it became a musical bar mitzvah. My family's musical. So at one point, when you remember, David, my cousin, he played guitar with you. Or maybe on his own. I don't know.
Okay.
One point, my mother and you sang "Endless Love."
Oh wow!
Which and she's not much of it. She sings, but she doesn't. And then my grandfather. This is my favorite part of the story. My grandfather, I love him, but he was a womanizer. He was a drunk. He was like the life of the party, and if you didn't know him, he was your best friend. He wasn't great with his own family, but I can't fault my grandfather because whatever spirit he had, he had so much energy, and my dad has that, I have that. I love my grandfather.
Yeah.
But there's, it's not that easy, right? So he's singing "Show Me the Way to Go Home," right? Show me the way to go home.
Uh-huh.
And right before he sang, the newscaster Jim O'Brien died.
Parachute.
Jim O'Brien died in a parachute during my bar mitzvah.
Oh my
God! And my grandfather in the very tactful human being that he was, show me the way to go home. Everybody, Jim O'Brien died. 'Cause I want to go to bed. God. He just throws it out.
Oh yeah.
And I have to love him for that moment because that's fucking hilarious. I don't know if there's any more to my story except for Tom Jones. So
he was a pretty loved weatherman, that guy.
He was,
So you say that ruined your bar mitzvah. Everybody got on it down.
Nobody knew. I don't think anybody knew. The only reason anybody knew is because my grandfather mumbled it during his song.
Yeah.
But it was such a throwaway. He didn't some people would have said, "Everybody, we're just in a moment of silence. I'm really sorry." My grandfather's just let's just throw it into the song. I'm surprised he didn't sing it in the tune.
I played gig and people were doing the hora.
Yeah.
And some guy hit the foot, boom, like a sack of potatoes, and white shit's coming out of his mouth. And they called the ambulance, and I'm sure he probably died right there.
And you're just singing. You're like, he'll be okay.
We took a break. I had to come back with a song after they took him away. I came back with Misty. Look at me.
I mean, what are you
I
gonna do?
didn't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
When I first started out playing. Where do you want to go?
Tom Jones.
Because they're just funny.
I want to go to. I
When
want
I
to.
first started playing with that band,
You can tell the story first, but I want to get to Tom Jones.
Yeah, go do the Tom Jones thing. Go
So
ahead.
Tom Jones, tell me about Tom Jones.
Well, I had soul, and I looked like him.
Right.
I wore bell, I had the afro. I
Yeah.
sounded black, so people related me to Tom Jones,
Yeah.
and I could sing that shit, and I sounded like him.
Yeah.
But I never wanted to push that too much, so I did a Tom Jones medley. Delilah, it's not unusual, maybe, and she's a lady,
Yeah.
something like that, and somebody once hired me to do. They had a tape, a record company called Music Minus One.
Okay.
So you could take off the vocal and you could sing along with the tracks.
Oh, nice.
And then if you want to hear how it goes,
you were the.
I was the
That's
vocalist,
hilarious.
so I did Tom
Do
Jones.
you have that somewhere?
It's a cassette tape somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
I want to hear
Yeah.
that too. But go on.
yeah. And then the other side is just a track. And so one side you can turn my vocal down, but if people want to sing along to the track, they can put my vocal up so they can hear
Yeah.
how it goes.
That's awesome.
And then it was called Pocket Songs.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I did Engelbert too.
Nice.
I did Please Release Me. But anyway, with Tom Jones. So anyway, I put that into my act. And
Yeah.
the women would throw bras at me and they'd come if they knew I was going to do the gig.
Yeah.
I'd get underpants on. One lady threw a shoe at me once, it was a good thing though. And she's a friend. She's my sax player's wife now. We to this day, we still kibitz about that.
So that's where I want to dig because again, so I'm 13, and I don't know if I thought about this when I was 13 or looking at the tape later, but I was like, all right, it was 1986. Maybe if you had done a Culture Club medley, I'm like, yes, makes sense, right? But I'm like, Tom Jones, no 13-year-old knew who the hell Tom Jones was. Our parents did. So I'm like, okay, this is for the parents. But I'm like, it's 10 minutes. He's doing all this stuff. I'm like, something is up there, and I don't know what it is. All I know is when I asked you, I already knew the answer before I asked you. So if it's okay with you, I would like to hear about that. Hear about
At your sister's bat mitzvah, one of your relatives came up and started making out with me. And came up to the bandstand in the blue dress,
What? Who?
and with her scarf.
One of my relatives started making
Yeah.
out with you during the
Well,
sister's
no,
bar
man,
mitzvah?
he came up and started giving me kisses, and she threw her
Do you remember
blue dress. I don't remember.
How old was she?
She was, older.
I wonder if it was my Aunt Faye.
she was like the one life of the party, always at every party. You'd once told me.
This must be Aunt Faye.
Yeah.
Aunt Faye is.
So she came
My-
up and started kissing me, and
Yeah, she kissed you,
and
told you she loved
while
you?
I was doing Delilah. I saw the light on the night that I passed by her window.
Aunt Faye is my
So-
favorite human being in
And
the
she
world.
threw her scarf at me,
Yeah,
and I
that's
had the
Aunt Faye.
scarf, and I was dancing with the scarf, and
Oh my god.
she gave me a kiss on my lips. So I would get that kind of stuff, doing that. I had women.
I'm just
come
hoping
on to
you
me
would
all
tell.
the
I'm
time.
hoping you would tell me you made out with Aunt Faye because
Yeah.
it would just be hilarious.
I made out with her.
Did she kiss you on the lips?
Oh yeah, man, it was a good kiss.
Was she just trying to be nice, or was she kissing?
No, she was trying to be nice.
Yeah.
That's what people would do to Tom Jones.
I got
The
you.
women would go nuts.
So Aunt Faye was.
So we played. She was part of the act. In other words, I didn't know she was going to do it.
I have to
but
watch these videos. I don't remember
Yeah.
seeing them in the video.
Yeah, it's
Aunt
in
Faye
there.
Aunt Faye played
in
accordion and was at
Oh,
old
really?
age homes for 34
Yeah.
years of her life.
Ah.
Aunt Faye sang in
Yeah.
like 10 different languages. Aunt
Oh,
Faye
wow.
went senile, but could still sing every
Oh,
fucking
yeah,
song she
it's
ever
Tony
knew.
Bennett, man.
I've
He's
never
like
loved
that.
people. I don't think my family Aunt Faye was a lot, right? Because she comes in cheeks kissing. I loved it. She gave me so much attention that everyone else was like, I can't deal with it. I'm like, she's the only adult that I felt like was just unconditional attention and love. So she remains to be my favorite human being and family member
Wow,
in the
nice.
world.
That's
So
wonderful.
it's hilarious.
That's
Holy-
cool.
So
I'll never forget at Scott's bar mitzvah, I had an Aunt Sophie, and we did the candlelighting, and my father had 6 sisters. Aunt Sophie was one of them, but she was known to shmushka you on your face, shmushka you all over. And Aunt Sophie came up to light a candle, went get Scotty, because I scared him ahead of time and told him about, Aunt Sophie's
Yeah.
going to suck your face. And he was running around the cake, and Aunt Sophie's trying to catch him, and she never did catch him, and she probably had to sit down and had to call up the next sister. But Scott, that's such a memory of ours,
Yes.
Scott and
Yeah.
I, and Aunt Sophie trying to kiss him at his bar mitzvah.
So what I want to get back to, if you're okay with it, is we had kind of talked before about like you know, the reaction you got from performing that.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was people like screaming, like you know, and women throwing things, and
Did the
women
women do
coming
it?
up and giving me their phone numbers, maybe.
Did anything else happen in those worlds?
Well, you know, occasionally maybe something was happening. Early on, I
Yeah.
was married, you know,
Right.
but then when I was not married, you know,
We're not going to
something.
kiss and tell here, but
And yeah,
all
but
right.
you know, and you know, it was pretty nuts.
I
But
got you.
yeah, then I still had to maintain. I was
Yeah.
out of business.
Right,
I couldn't
right.
start messing with the bar mitzvah boy's mother or the
Right.
bride's mother. You know,
Right.
it was like it was a very
Yeah.
tricky thing.
No.
I had to
Believe
be
me.
very careful not
Believe
to
me,
get a reputation as a whore in the business.
I mean, it's nice to be aware of it. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people don't even care.
Yeah.
A lot of men are like,
But,
you know.
It was cool,
Yeah.
you know. And look, that's what it was. It was part of the act.
I'm not judging you. I love
Yeah.
this part. So
But that became something where people wanted me to do it more and more, and then I got calls that want to do Tom Jones at Valley Forge or one of those lookalike shows, you know, in Atlantic City. But I wouldn't do it. I didn't want to be Tom Jones.
So that, like, for me, that, like, it makes me realize you're a very solid person and you have a lot of integrity. But I'm also like, I used to do a Neil Diamond impersonation. If someone called and said, "I'm going to give you $20,000 to spend a year doing," you know, or not that, but you know, $80,000, I would do it. I wouldn't care. But I wasn't coming from
But
a
I
musician's
wanted to
place.
be Eddie Davis. I was
got you.
looking for music to record at that
Yeah.
time.
I got you.
Also, I was playing, believe it or not, probably 5 gigs on a weekend. I was playing a Friday, 2 on a Saturday, 2 on a Sunday. I was making money to go down the shore and play for a weekend or something. I made more money just playing, you know, Friday,
Doing your
Saturday, and
thing.
Sunday
Yeah.
here. You know, and I was married. I already had Scott in '71.
It's just Sarah and Scott, right?
Shari and Scott.
Sarah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So I had
What is
Scott in
this, Sarah?
'71 and Shari in '74.
Wow.
So you know, look, I couldn't leave and go, and I was making more money anyway,
Yeah.
playing private parties.
I mean, I just think a lot. You know, it shows you have integrity for what you were doing, which I
yeah,
think a lot of people would have just
wanted
been,
to
I don't
be-
care.
No, I wasn't into that. I wanted
That's
to be
good.
me. I did the Tom Jones medley.
You wanted to be you. You didn't want to be known as.
I gotta be me.
Yeah.
So I was doing the Tom Jones medley in my show because everybody wanted to see it,
Yeah.
and then I would put it in there.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the young kids would know She's a Lady or even Delilah. I mean, he had a big TV show in those days.
Oh my God, I have to send it to you. There's a story. There's this comedian named John Mullally, and he does this story where he was like 16 with a friend of him, and they went to a diner, and they played like what are his big songs?
His big songs.
Yeah.
It's not unusual.
So they played it, and then what's the other one?
Delilah. She's a Lady.
Okay, so they either I don't know which one they played. They played She's a Lady like 11 times. Remember the old school with like the diners where you couldn't avoid it?
Yeah.
And they're just like watching. They're just like two little kids that are like, let's throw this shit in and see what happens. And so the whole thing is about like they play She's a Lady 7 times. Then they play one version of Delilah just to be like, and then it goes back. And the way he tells the story, I have to send it to you. It's the funniest thing I've ever. I think you would love it. I would play it now, but I'm not legally allowed to. I want to keep going, but I got to figure out where to go.
Well, you know, I'm just basically, if you want me to just take you a little bit further.
Yeah, keep going.
After that stuff, you know.
I want you to, if you can, I want you to share the stories that you feel like are important within your career.
Yeah. Well, what was important
And funny. I need the funny
you
stuff
know,
too.
after my keyboard player left and became a gynecologist, went to Allentown, Muhlenberg, became a gynecologist. It was just me and my drummer. We had a business at 5 Points. I can't believe I can't remember the name of the business. Anyway, but then he wanted to, you know, it was all Eddie Davis because I was the front man in the band, and we split everything though. But he made me an offer to buy the business from me.
Okay.
And I figured, oh shit, if I give him the business, then I have the band myself. Oh my God, I'll be making twice as much. I'll be making a lot of more money because I don't have to pay him anymore.
Okay.
So we split up. I gave him that business, and I had Eddie Davis band by myself.
Nice.
And started.
So you were still making money through the business.
No, I was doing well. No, I gave him the business.
But you made a chunk of money from selling the business, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he bought me out.
Nice.
You know, And I did my own thing with my band, and then it became Eddie Davis, and the rest is history, basically.
Yeah.
And I did that for probably about maybe 40 years, 35 years, playing in the wedding bar mitzvah business.
It's amazing.
But in the meantime, I was trying to record stuff and write music. I wrote this for Chubby, and Bobby Rydell wanted a song who just passed away.
You wrote a song for Bobby Rydell?
Yeah, but he never recorded it because he
Okay.
got sick. He had a new kidney, had a new liver, and Bobby was like,
This is like the late 90s?
Huh?
What year is this? Like
yeah,
90s?
90s, like early mid 90s. Yeah.
I mean, it's cool you did. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool that you.
So I recorded. It was called
Yeah.
Me and Moray, and I also had a Major Harris recorded.
Okay.
He did Love Won't Let Me Wait. He was with her. He was a pretty big recording artist. He even sang with the Delphonics a little bit.
Nice.
But in any case, and then I was married, had kids, so I couldn't travel around, so I stayed local and made money playing the wedding bar mitzvah business.
I mean, I don't know. I think people don't understand the value in that. I feel like everybody's like, well, why didn't you go to Hollywood? Like,
right.
Some people just
yeah.
People love music.
Yeah.
And people just want to make it, and it doesn't. The cost of being big and leaving your family doesn't make sense for a lot of people. And
That's
I just
right.
feel like
Even Bobby Rydell, as big as he got, he still lived in Penn Valley. Never wanted to leave
this
area.
This neighborhood, honestly, I've been here. I used to book music in West Philly, and there are people that are world famous now that just lived here and made their music. They got bigger and they left, but they built their world here. I think there are points where you have to go somewhere else because you've built what you can build. But I also feel like people don't really have to leave. I don't know why everybody. I don't understand that.
No, it depends. Family and what ties you have. You know. I have family now. I have children and grandchildren.
So you were spending. So you talk about Chubby Checker, Barry Dell. Were you? I'm curious about your social life. Were you hanging out with these types? Were you going out to? Were you meeting famous people? Going to book clubs? Were you just?
Well, I would go out and I was booking some famous people like Soul Survivors.
Okay.
I have pictures with me and some of the Soul Survivors.
I don't know that.
I have a picture of me and Bobby right there. Expressway to Your Heart.
Okay.
I've been trying to get to you for a long time. That expressway to your heart.
Nice. I know the song. I just didn't know it. I'm always good. Not always good with names. But I know the
Eddie
song.
Holman. Hey there, lonely
Eddie Holman.
girl.
I have one of his albums.
I have a picture of me and Eddie Holman there.
I love Eddie Holman.
Felix Cavalieri was the Rascals.
Okay.
At that time, I have a picture of me and Felix. So not so much hanging out, but I was doing shows and they were there, and I was booking the shows, or I was doing them. Bowser, I got a picture of me and Bowser from Sha Na Na.
We saw Sean and I played it. We saw them at the Valley Forge Music Fair.
I have pictures
Nice.
with me. I want to show you.
Get those.
Show you those pictures. So yeah, that was all cool, man. And,
Sean, real quick. Sean and I didn't know this. I'm pretty obsessed with Woodstock, Woodstock, in the '60s.
Right.
Sean and I played Woodstock.
They did,
which doesn't make any sense because of who they were.
Yeah.
But they had that kind of for some reason they were seen as alternative and kind of fun. Oh my God, Bowser! Holy crap! Yeah, so I saw that. I mean, this is what year? 2000?
I think so.
Hershey Park.
Yeah, looks like it. That's Bobby Rydell.
Oh man, we have to. You have to let me share this stuff.
This is me and the Times. They did. As we stroll along together.
I have to have you meet a friend of mine who books. He still books these kind of bands.
Cavalieri.
Nice.
Okay. It's a beautiful morning.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna have to collect this stuff. I might connect.
Eddie Holman, Hey There, Lonely Girl, and this is me and Charlie Ingwe. He was after the Soul Survivors.
Okay.
His brother Richie.
It looks like Chick Corea.
Richie died. Yeah, it does look like Chick Corea.
I don't know why.
That's Charlie Ingwe of Soul Survivors.
Nice.
But there's other stuff. So anyway, yeah, that was pretty cool days.
Okay.
And this is just some friends. This is Richard Lee Stecker, who wrote. He was a guitar player for Grover Washington. We were backstage.
Okay.
And that's Sid Miller right there with his girlfriend. And that's Mindy, my wife now.
Oh, nice.
And my drummer, Danny Bendig. And Richard Lee was playing with Grover that night.
Nice.
Yeah. And Richard lives in Florida now.
It's funny because I feel like there's such a rich history of music in Philly, and I don't feel like there's a lot of. It's not. I don't know. Maybe there exist, but I don't think I've seen a lot of books or collections that are just based on the rich history of I mean, Philadelphia is like.
Well, I think, there might be because there was Buddy Greco and, of course, Bobby Rydell, Fabian, Chubby Checker.
Were you ever kind of involved with like Sound of Philadelphia world at all?
Well,
Like Gamble and Huff and that world?
well, we did audition for them.
Okay.
But they didn't. That was like I wasn't involved with them, but we tried to get something better. They didn't use us for it. And that point, it was just ED and the Shadows. That was my doo-wop group,
Nice.
where I sang on the corner at Temple, and Darryl Hall from Hall and Oates had a group called the Temptones.
You guys.
So this is when I was going to Temple Prep, actually, right before the Marine Corps. I would sing on the corner with my group, ED and the Shadows, and Darryl Hall had a group called the Temptones, and he would sing, and we would have battle of the groups. And Darryl was even great in those days.
He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he was a little, he tried to help me out
Nice.
when I went to Gamble and Huff. I mean, he was a little introverted, maybe, you know. But I guess he knew at that time when we were 16, 17 years old, he probably knew he was great. He probably felt his greatness.
Yeah.
Maybe he knew that he was going to be big. I mean, he wrote amazing fucking songs.
Yeah.
Him and John Oates.
I don't think I I was obviously it's hard not to be a Hall & Oates fan as a kid, but I don't think I was aware till like closer to the late 80s how much his music was coming from doo-wop, how much it was inspired by soul black musicians. Like I didn't put that together until I heard him sing "Every Time You Go Away." Like it didn't click to me, and I was like, "Oh, they're soul singers."
Well, his favorite group was the Temptations, and they did a show with the Temptations at the Uptown, which was a dream come true for him. And
such a rich history.
So Darryl was great. And, when I went to Gamble and Huff, and I was in the studio, he was working on Sarah, that song "Sarah Smile." Which was a big hit for him. And Johnny Madera, the record producer, was with him. And Darryl was playing keyboard and singing, and he saw me. And we went back to college days. This was after college, probably in the 70s. Anyway, he gave me a song that he hooked me up with somebody who gave me a song to record. And I recorded a couple songs with this guy. Was from a group bass player for, I don't remember.
Don't worry about it. Have you ever heard?
He tried to help me out.
Have you ever heard Lou Rawls' version of "She's Gone"?
Oh man, I love Lou Rawls. I
never heard that.
I never heard Lou Rawls do that.
It's so good.
I think I heard Tavares maybe do that. Maybe
I don't. Like it's funny. There's certain songwriters that you don't realize how many people cover them. Like when I collect a lot of vinyl, and I used to collect a lot more. And you would always like the biggest. Everybody would cover. It was always the Stones, the Beatles, the Bee Gees, the Bee Gees, and then like a lot of Hall & Oates stuff. So it's, like Nina Simone does the version of Bitch Girl. And it's just amazing that like these amazing, because of the connection between the music, because they were essentially creating and playing black music, it made sense for those artists to cover the songs.
Did you see that movie, The Summer of '69? Or
as a kid, I did.
No, I mean the new one. It was produced by...
Oh, the Questlove one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're showing it.
Yeah, I saw it too. And Nina Simone was on there.
And that's the thing. Like I think if I'm going to just for a minute talk about like what I'm trying to do in this pocket, it's like he found that stuff that had been in someone's basement for 30 whatever years, and made some out of it. So
that's
like that to me is why these stories matter.
Yeah.
Why these collections matter, because you don't know what's there. Yeah. And if you really look at any of it, it tells all of our stories.
So, I mean, I always loved the blues. I was pretty much more of an R&B singer, which is different than blues. But a friend of mine, my bass player, Ricky Prince, had a group called 9 Below Zero, the All-Stars. And I started hearing them playing all these blues songs. And they had a singer named Rick Valenti, who's still great. And I loved it. I just loved it. So I got into that. And that was years ago, and while I'm still playing weddings and bar mitzvahs, But after the wedding and bar mitzvah business, when I had to get a different drummer, my guitar player had health problems, so I had to get some different players. After playing with the same guys, and I'm leading up to this, after playing with the same guys for maybe 30 years, 25 years, I had to start to get some other guys, young guys. And young guys were great at certain things, but they didn't live with the Motown. They didn't live with the R&B stuff I grew up with. They didn't live with the swing, the Sinatra stuff. So it was different. It wasn't as authentic as I was used to. So playing wasn't the same for me anymore because I played with the same guys for years, and we grew up together. We lived in through that time together,
Yeah.
and we all had that feel. You know how to swing, and you know how to play funk and soul
Yeah.
music. You know, the new guys play the newer shit great. You know, but that some of the old swing stuff, or you know, some of the R&B stuff. I'm on a guy when I called out, for example, real quick, you know, Signed, Sealed, and Delivered, a Stevie Wonder song, you know,
Yeah.
or if I called out Soul Man, and the drummer said to me, "Oh yeah, yeah, I know that one, I know that song," you know, I figured, oh my god, you know, I mean, who doesn't know? So I figured, all right, this is it. And then the brides started to become real obnoxious. It wasn't the parents booking it anymore. When I was,
It was the.
it was the bride themselves, you know, and they became bridezillas. So I started to get this enchanted with the wedding business. So
Okay.
the bar mitzvah business, they were already burning down the bathrooms, you know. The kids would go into the bathroom and you remember.
I've done that.
So like, you know, I was done with the bar mitzvahs already because I didn't want to play games.
Yeah.
You know, I was playing games, you know, with the kids. I was done that. The brides became bridezillas, and I didn't want to do that anymore. And the players were different, so it wasn't what I feel anymore. I got a call to do a blues CD with Range Records in Ardmore.
Okay.
Through my bass player Ricky Prince.
Nice.
And I did that, and I learned those songs. It was an old blues guy named Lonnie Johnson. The album's called Rediscovering.
Lonnie Johnson. Yes.
It's called Rediscovering Lonnie Johnson.
I randomly found Lonnie Johnson. His music is amazing.
I mean, Lonnie Johnson. I mean, there's some old blues guys named Johnsons also.
His voice is, anyway, go on.
But so anyway, you know, I did that album, and we had success with that, and then I recorded some other stuff, and then I did over a song called that I heard on The Sopranos.
Okay.
In one of their commercials, you know, called "Blues Is My Business." I don't know who the group was who even did it. I said, "Oh my God, I got to record that song. I love it. It's so." And I did my version, and I had a blues group I put together called Blues Anatomy.
Okay.
And we did an album, and I put "Blues Is My Business" on it.
Nice.
And a couple other songs that I liked.
What year are we talking about again?
Like probably
early
2000. Yeah,
okay.
2008, 2009,
okay.
2010. And so that, and Blues Is My Business really got some legs, and people loved it. And,
nice.
you know, so then I got a record deal, you know, not exclusive, but I got a record deal with K-Tel in Canada, you know, and they got my stuff on YouTube. And,
nice.
And I have an album called Blues Diamonds with them.
So you have two different blues albums out, or more?
I have. And then I have another one called Blues Is My Business is the name of the album.
So you made 3 blues albums.
I have 3 blues albums: Blues Diamonds, Blues Is My Business, and Let's Straighten It Out. Now, a lot of the songs are the same.
Had you made other albums before that, or was that the first?
I made other songs before that.
But never
out. I made it really an album.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
I'm thinking. I don't know. I don't think I put together an album.
That's okay. I'm just curious on how many. You know, nice. 3 is great.
So that's pretty cool. You know, I know I get played all over the world.
Yeah.
All over the world, I get like 6 cents from Russia. Like, you know, it's crazy. They listen to this shit.
Awesome.
And I have different record companies that are playing. I got a jukebox company of jukeboxes all over the world. Anyway, so I'm doing blues. I love that. And that's what I want to do. And although I did a corporate party a couple months ago, so if they want oldies and they want swing and everything, I have great players that I can always put together and go out. I will do a corporate event.
Okay.
I don't want to play 4-hour gigs. If they want me for 2 hours, 3 hours the most. You know, so like I'm picking and choosing what I want to do in these days.
It's awesome.
And that's what it is.
So what do you promote? What do you? People listen to this podcast. What do you want? Where do you want them to go to check out your stuff? So
my website has a lot of stuff that I'm doing. It's EddieDavisMusic.com, EddieDavisMusic.com, and they can even see videos of my big band. I did a show with 20-piece orchestra.
Nice.
I have my video of Blues Is My Business. I have a duo thing that I did with another guy with tracks, and I have the Eddie Davis Band with Patrice Hawthorne. You know, so I'm trying to stay in shape in my older age.
Thank you so much for listening. Please check out Eddie Davis's website and his music. Really great stuff. We have upcoming interviews with John Valdez, very well-known artist, painter, Dean Freeman, musician. Coming up soon with a very special interview with Ann Magnuson. And more and more. So thank you again. Check out our website. Check out all our Instagram, and thanks again for listening. It's without you all, there'd be no one to be talking to. So thank you. Take care.
But things came out right. We thought in different